Welcome back to the deep dive. I got to say, when you sent this stuff over about cross-dressing as a hobby, I was definitely curious.
Yeah, it's not something you hear every day, right?
Now, not exactly like a mainstream hobby.
Not your typical like knitting club.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what makes it so interesting, right? It's kind of pushes the boundaries of what we think of as like normal hobbies.
Right, and it's not even really like it's not always about gender identity or anything like that from what I've been reading this blog post you sent.
You know, it's interesting you say that because the post actually explicitly says it's not necessarily tied to gender identity at all.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's more about like finding a different way to express yourself through fashion and presentation, like finding a different side of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really about like, trying to be a different gender or anything. It's more about like tapping into a different part of your personality.
It's kind of like putting on a different hat almost.
Yeah, or like developing a stage persona.
Mm-hmm.
You know how actors will create a character for a play?
Right.
It's kind of like that. You're picking outfits, you're experimenting with makeup, you're figuring out how to present this new side of yourself to the world.
I like that comparison to developing a character for a play because it makes you think about the level of detail involved.
Yeah, exactly. And the blog post talks about that too. Like it goes into things like makeup techniques and how to apply makeup to transform your features.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like they talk about contouring and blending and like creating illusions with light and shadow. It's like professional level stuff.
So it sounds like there's a real art to it.
Oh, there definitely is. It's not just like throwing on a dress and calling it a day.
And it's not something you just pick up overnight. I imagine there's a learning curve involved.
There definitely is. But that's where the community aspect comes in. The blog post talks about how important community is for this hobby.
Oh, yeah.
There are all these online forums and social media groups where people can exchange tips and advice, share their transformations, and even organize meetups.
That's cool. So it's like any other hobby where you can connect with people who share your interests.
Exactly. And it can be especially helpful for newcomers who are just starting out and want to learn from more experienced people.
Makes sense. It's always nice to have a support system, especially when you're venturing into something that might be outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and you know, the blog post also talks about how these communities can offer a sense of belonging.
Oh, that's so important.
Like, especially given the societal perceptions that can sometimes surround cross-dressing, it's really valuable to have a place where you can be yourself without judgment.
For sure. But, you know, a hobby like this, it doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Right, right.
There are probably challenges, too. I mean, the blog post mentions societal stigma as a potential hurdle.
Definitely. It's an unfortunate reality that people who enjoy cross-dressing might face judgment or misunderstanding from others.
Right.
But the blog post emphasizes the importance of finding supportive communities and surrounding yourself with people who accept you for who you are.
And that can make a world of difference.
It really can, especially when you're dealing with negative external pressures.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a real sense of resilience and strength that comes from embracing this hobby.
I think so. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about how it's a form of self-expression. You know, it's about finding a way to be your authentic self, even if it goes against societal norms.
I imagine another challenge is the financial aspect.
Oh, yeah, definitely. This hobby can get expensive, just like any other hobby.
Right. I mean, clothes, makeup, wigs, it all adds up.
Yeah, but the blog post actually offers some good budget tips. Like they talk about thrifting and DIY solutions.
Oh, that's smart.
Like you can find amazing stuff at thrift stores if you know where to look. And you can also get really creative with making your own accessories or altering clothes to fit your style.
So it's all about being resourceful.
Exactly. And that's part of the fun, too, like the challenge of finding creative solutions within a budget.
It's like a treasure hunt.
Kind of, yeah. And, you know, it's funny because when I first started reading about this hobby, I thought it was mostly about, like, trying to look like a woman.
Yeah, I had some assumptions, too.
But the more I read, the more I realized it's really about so much more than that.
Right.
It's about creativity. It's about self-discovery. It's about pushing boundaries.
And it can be about challenging gender norms, too.
Exactly. And the blog post really emphasizes that the motivations behind cross-dressing can be as diverse as the people themselves.
I mean, for some people, it might be purely about the aesthetic, like experimenting with different looks and styles.
Right. And for others, it might be more about exploring their identity or challenging societal expectations.
And for some, it might even be a form of stress relief.
Yeah, like a way to escape from the pressures of everyday life and just have fun.
Totally. So it's not just about the outward appearance.
No, it's about what's going on internally, too.
It's about self-expression and personal growth.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what makes this deep dive so interesting to me. It's like we're peeling back the layers of an onion and revealing all these different facets of this hobby.
And of the people who enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you think about it, cross-dressing as a hobby, it actually mirrors a lot of other hobbies in terms of the challenges and rewards involved.
That's true. It requires dedication and a willingness to learn and grow just like any other skill.
Exactly. And the blog post actually draws a parallel to something like golf.
Golf? Really?
Yeah, think about it. Both require specific equipment and a certain level of knowledge and practice. Golfers invest in clubs and attire and lessons.
Right.
And similarly, people who enjoy cross-dressing might invest in clothing and makeup and wigs and even take classes on styling techniques.
I see your point. It's
Yeah.
about that dedication to mastering a craft, regardless of what that craft may be.
Yeah, and I bet that sense of accomplishment when you finally nail that perfect cat eye or find the ideal wig is pretty rewarding.
I bet.
The blog post mentions that some people enjoy the privacy of their own space, while others find joy in going out in public or attending themed events.
That's cool. So there's no one right way to do it.
Nope. It's all about finding what brings you joy and expressing yourself authentically.
Which is really what hobbies are all about.
Absolutely. And the blog post talks about how some cross-dressers actually develop a whole new fashion sense through this hobby.
Interesting. So like it leads over into their everyday lives.
Yeah, like they might start paying more attention to detail and color coordination in their regular wardrobe, or they might experiment with different styles or accessories that they wouldn't have considered before.
That's cool. It's like opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
It is, and it can be really empowering too.
Like breaking free from those societal expectations of what you should wear.
Exactly. Like who says men can't wear pink or women can't wear suits?
Right. It's all about expressing yourself authentically.
Exactly. And the blog post also talks about the importance of body language and presentation.
Oh, yeah, like how you carry yourself.
Yeah, they mention that some cross-dressers who enjoy going out in public will practice things like walking in heels or carrying themselves with confidence.
It's like they're embodying a different persona.
Yeah, it's like stepping into a role and really owning it.
That must be a really cool feeling.
It can be, especially for people who might feel constrained by traditional gender roles in their everyday lives.
Right. It's a chance to break free and be wherever they want to be.
Exactly. But, it's important to acknowledge that there can be challenges, too, with this hobby.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like we talked about societal stigma before.
Yeah, and that can be a real hurdle for some people.
Like feeling judged or misunderstood by others.
Right. And it's sad because it shouldn't be that way.
No, it shouldn't.
But the blog post emphasizes the importance of finding supportive communities and surrounding yourself with people who accept you for who you are.
That's so important.
It really is. And it can make a world of difference in terms of your confidence and your overall well-being.
And it's not just about finding support from others. It's also about developing that inner strength and resilience.
Oh, absolutely. Like the blog post talks about how cross-dressing can actually be a source of strength in itself.
How so?
Well, by embracing this part of themselves, people can develop a stronger sense of self-worth and learn to navigate challenging social situations with grace.
So it's like a journey of self-discovery and personal growth.
Yeah, exactly. And it all goes back to what we were saying earlier about self-expression. It's not about conforming to any stereotypes or trying to please anyone else.
It's about being true to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that can be really powerful.
And it's interesting because the blog post mentions that some people enjoy the privacy of cross-dressing at home, while others find fulfillment in sharing their creations with the world.
Yeah, it's a really interesting dichotomy.
Like there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Right. It's all about finding what feels right for you and respecting individual choices.
And recognizing that even within the community of cross-dressers, there's a spectrum of experiences and preferences.
Exactly. It's a diverse and multifaceted world with room for everyone.
And something else that really resonated with me from the blog post was the idea that cross-dressing can be a form of stress relief.
Oh, totally. It's like a way to escape from the everyday world and just like de-stress and have fun.
It makes you wonder if there are other hobbies out there that we might be overlooking in terms of their therapeutic benefits.
That's a really good point. Like maybe we need to expand our definition of what constitutes therapy.
Totally. Like maybe instead of going to a therapist, we should all just take up cross-dressing.
I don't know about that.
I'm just kidding. But it's a reminder that what might seem like a simple pastime can actually have a profound impact on our well-being.
For sure. And it just goes to show that there's so much more to this hobby than meets the eye.
I think it's safe to say that we've learned a lot about this hobby today.
I know I have. I had a lot of preconceived notions going in, but this deep dive has really opened my eyes.
Me too. It's clear that there's so much more to cross-dressing as a hobby than meets the eye.
It's complex, it's creative, and it's a powerful form of self-expression.
Well said. So to anyone listening who might be intrigued by what they've heard today, I encourage you to keep exploring.
Yeah, don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone and try something new.